Danse, good evening. My name is Pierre. I am mixed Cree from the James Bay area. I am a 51-year-old male that's been in Montreal for 2 years. My situation is a little complicated and unique and involves a prison sentence. I can gladly speak about that and the overrepresentation of Aboriginal people in prisons, but this is not what we're steering today. So my lived experience has proven beneficial to me in the work that I landed. I'll tell you real quickly, I served 10 years consecutively in prison in the federal penitentiary for a crime that was tragic and terrible and a direct result of a 25-year addiction, severe addiction. So, it's a tragic thing that happened. I ended up convicted for involuntary manslaughter. And I spent 10 years in the penitentiary, as I said. Just to explain real quickly this because it's important to where I am today. So, I led a life where I lived across Canada before. I lived in the Nunavut, and I've lived in the Yukon and across British Columbia, on native reserves in Ontario, Quebec, and whatnot. And I certainly wasn't a man who was following my culture at the time, who understood my culture or knew anything about my culture. In all these communities that I went, I did more harm than good. I was a drug dealer and whatnot. Ultimately, it led to my crime. And that first week in prison, I was going to take my life. I was hopeless. I was alone. I was devastated. I was, I couldn't face the thought of 10 years in a federal penitentiary. I was scared shitless, So I almost took my life. However, I went on the left road. Thank goodness for people that were put in my path. Some of these people are what Corrections Canada hires. That prison is a terrible thing, and I'll talk about it forever if you'd like me to. But I'm just going to say real quickly that the only good thing about prison, it did save my life. First of all, I got connected with Aboriginal elders. They bring in Aboriginal elders to take care of the overrepresentation of inmates in Canada. We, and Indigenous, Inuit, and Métis are 4% of Canada's population. However, I think the stat right now is like 33% of Canadian prisons are Indigenous right now. So what's the situation, So this is what I become. I become an advocate for social justice. I studied while I was inside. I had all kinds of courses paid for me by university, by Indigenous organizations and individuals who believed in me. So I took all these college and university courses while I was inside by correspondence. And I worked with countless Aboriginal elders. Haudenosaunee, which means Mohawk and Iroquois, Anishinaabe, Mi'kmaq, from out west, Inuit teachers. And these teachers are also people with lived experience. And they taught me about our history, the realities of our history, which I didn't really know about, even as an Indigenous man, So ultimately, what I learned through culture, through sweat lodge, through drumming, through talking circles, through all these things, medicine, walking the red road, as I call it, is that I now have identity, purpose, and direction. So after serving 10 years, I decided to come to Montreal. I had never been a resident of Quebec before, and I wanted to start over. My ultimate plan was to go to McGill to get more courses in Indigenous studies. However, I landed in Montreal, and I was going to become a Gladue report writer. That's something I'd love to explain, but that's another situation for Aboriginal people. Long story short, I'm finishing almost. So 2 years ago, on April 16th, I got released from the federal penitentiary. My first time in Montreal, very overwhelming, reintegration and all these things. Institutionalization are real words. However, I found my sobriety inside. I found identity, purpose, and direction. These are the three most important things that I've learned, as I said. So when I got out, I was going to go to school and I had all these plans. However, things happened. The Creator puts things in our path. I became an intervention worker for two organizations. But the one I'm so proud about and mainly remain at is ISWP, Indigenous Support Worker Project. This project was created 3 years ago, just before I got out of prison, by people that would lived experience and have lived in the streets of Vancouver and all over, and they recognized the overrepresentation of Inuit people in the Plateau area. We're talking about Milton Park in Montreal and whatnot, and we're also talking Montreal Metro. So they hit the bricks. They had no budget or anything. All they had was pack sacks, and they offered a presence of Indigenous helping Indigenous, which is very rare in all positions in Montreal, except for maybe the Friendship Center and the First People's Justice Center. So we developed incredible relationships with the community. I think got about 100 Indigenous people, Inuit people in our caseload maybe, and that might be a quick estimate. Our main focus for the last year has been the Plateau, Montreal area. Behind the Metro Montreal, we had people always gathered there. This has been going on for years. The COVID hit and whatnot, they gave us a heating tent. last year, not this year, last year. We had a heating tent there like they do at Cabot Square and whatnot. It was all kinds of staff, university students from McGill mostly were running it. We were working outside ISWP. We worked in collaboration. That tent went down, summer came up. Wapakoni gave us a trailer. Wapakoni is an indigenous organization in Quebec. They gave us a trailer. We put it there at Montreal. So this is where I'm going to talk about the city real quick. We made such a difference. We build relationships with our community members that's unparalleled. You know, they say the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is without parallel. Indigenous people understand our lived trauma. And that's the most important thing. The most important thing I need to talk about is about the trauma of Indigenous people, including myself. And people always ask, why are these people homeless? Why are they there? Why are they so messed up? Blah, blah, blah. Why are they uncivilized? Blah, 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 blah. Well, I and my workers, my colleagues understand the trauma that these people have faced and why they are the way today. So we could relate to them. We could build a relationship. We could go to hospitals. We could do all these things. We did that at the parking lot where we had the Wapakoni trailer. And this year, with one other Inuit person dying, just like last year, it was all over the media, the city of Montreal gave us a heating tent. Okay, this happened in February. Okay, maybe mid-January, I think they put it up. I can't remember exactly. So what happens is the neighbors, the cohabitation project that in the neighborhood, the plateau area, were very, very, very upset of our presence there. Very upset that we were there and the large numbers of Inuit and their uncivilities and whatnot. So they made several complaints to the city of Montreal. They signed petitions and whatnot. So the city of Montreal, in good faith, started interviewing our project. So they included me in Zoom meetings and whatnot. And I was able to provide, such as I'm trying to do here, an understanding of the realities of the people, how important it is that we are there for them, and the proven stuff we've accomplished and succeeded by being there with the community on a daily basis. We were open 7 days a week, and we had people there all the time, well-staffed. We know our community. Anyway, 3 weeks ago, boom, the city of Montreal says, no, they gave PAC, they opened up PAC. Let's rip off this tent. Holy shit, the tent just went down in a matter of days. We were like, oh my God, all right, so we'll adapt. That's what we are. We are people that are able to adapt, you know? Now, today, this week, we're losing our trailer. The city of Montreal, people that have complained, won. You know, they wanted us out. They said there was a loud voice, a powerful pen. And even with the delegations and the mediations that I've tried, you know, they didn't want to hear anything of it. It's just an inconvenience for them to have Indians and Inuit in their backyard. And I could talk about how this has been going on for 500 years. I don't pretend to be an original investigator or authority on Inuit people or trauma and all these things. You know, I simply have been a student, you know, through personal life experiences and observations. You know, this is what it is. My life experiences, the stuff I've experienced, witnessed, and observed, you know. No doubt many of my theories or my beliefs could be debatable, you know, and finally maybe even rejected. We all have different perceptions. However, I learned to understand our people, and I learned the history of our people, and I talk because I have the ability to communicate for our people. For 500 years, and just like it happened last week with the trailer and the heating tent, City of Montreal makes these decisions, or people have been making decisions for us, okay, without ever consulting us. You know, not the ones that they come to the tent, the City of Montreal, except for the police, to come see what was going on. They hired mediators from Friendship Center. So the two mediators came to our trailer once and observed for a couple of hours what we were about, and they were shocked at the closeness we have with our people, the difference we make just by being there. Well, it wasn't enough. The city of Montreal is not impressed. Oh, they're PAC. Everybody go to PAC. You know, all your needs are met there. Well, that's not the truth, you know. So we're very, very, very choked. So our project has took a massive turn. As of March 31st, we are back to just working on the streets. Most of our workers have been laid off, you know. Most of our workers have been laid off because of this. I'm lucky. They offered me a contract to work with peer workers, which is something I could talk about later. Our peer Inuit people to train them to become ready for employability and whatnot. Our project is an incredible thing. Our project, ISWP, is an incredible thing. It's just a small organization with people that really care, understand, and try to make a difference. We're realistic. We believe in harm reduction as being gold standard. We believe in peer support as being gold standard. One therapeutic value of one addict helping another is without parallel. I keep saying that. They relate to each other. We relate to when they're down, when they're up, when they're whatever. It's a strong battle. It's a difficult battle with more problems than solutions. You think, okay, this is the way it should be. I'm going to hope the outcome is this, but the outcome is rarely what you think it's going to be. So you learn to adapt. You learn to navigate. You learn to, this is not work for everybody. What I try to do today, I speak in schools, and I've written a book. It's just a manuscript. It's just my stuff that I wrote over the years that I'm quite proud of. It was therapeutic in writing it. I've been involved with Senator Kim Pate, been interviewed to talk about, Indigenous people, especially in prison and justice centers and whatnot. I'm fully in. My life today is following the Red Road here on Turtle Island. I follow the Red Road, and it's from night to day. It's not just an 8-hour thing. This is the road I take, and this is the road I do, and I'm always networking. What I believe in is social dialogue. I believe in social dialogue as being the first step in any understanding and try to make changes. Despite Canadians being aware of some of the stuff that's going on, it's just not enough, okay? Look, Kamloops, when it happened last summer or whatever, October, they found how many bodies? 200 and some bodies. It was tragic. It was all over the news. The number's at 10,000 people right now. 10,000 people. Not one judge, priest has been charged. Well, some have been charged, but for these cruel acts, and. We try not to be resentful. We try to walk in peace, to do that two-row wampum where we're different rivers but on the same place, I understand about the 500 years of colonialism. I understand that extermination was a real thing, They wanted to get rid of us. We were inconvenient. We were in the way. And it didn't matter the method they took us away, whether it be a bullet, whether it be infected blankets, whether it be starvation, whether it be, all these things, war and everything else. They say the numbers, and this is our artifacts or whatever, that apparently 90% of our people died since colonialism. 90 people. So the 10% that stands up is rebuilding itself, is troubled, is traumatized. However, we're speaking now. This week, today, there's a delegation happening with the Pope. So all over Canada, all over Turtle Island, there's people burning tobacco and having prayer and singing drums and all that to hope the outcome makes a difference. So talking, dialogue. We need people to share their experiences for regular people to understand what's happened. So you take a person at Truth Reconciliation Commission or what's happening right now, and the survivors of residential schools are telling their story, difficult as it may be. I'm lucky. My life is an open book today, and I'm able to explain everything full out, what happened to me, how it happened. I'm on a mission. I do these interviews, or I speak in schools, and I try to talk to frontline workers mostly. I'd like to work with the police somehow, if there's such a thing, but, I try to explain people the destructive and damaging past and present that our people have faced because of decisions made by either the city of Montreal, either the province of Quebec, either the city of the country of Canada, whether there's such a gap, it's a canyon-wide gap between, let's just say, justice, our methods of justice, truth, which we've always had truth, but our methods of justice are so different from theirs. Punishment. We believe in accountability. Actually, this week I'm doing a 1-week program that I'm so honored and privileged to be in. First People Justice Center of Montreal, which are located at the Friendship Center of Montreal, are holding a 1-week long on restorative justice and knowledge keeping and whatnot. So we have guest speakers from all over Canada, and it's been so incredible. We had a lawyer from McGill, actually, Dr. Aaron Mills, Professor Aaron Mills. He's a lawyer there, and he's also a teacher. So we had him yesterday, and people were awestruck by the words he said. We're moving forward through dialogue, through communication. So I feel this responsibility. I also write. I'm a writer. I'm a social advocate. I want to be a public speaker. I want to do more appearances. And that's not for the money, but certainly it pays the bills. But I like to speak in schools. I like to talk to students and then explain to them, whether they be healthcare, nurses, the story in healthcare with Inuit people. We know about with Aboriginal people, the gap. They feel they don't want to be there, but they have to. And then when they're there, because of the differences, they get in trouble, or they get, whether this justice system, I could go on and on and talk about the justice system, which is just, we need our people to help our people. And I'm so encouraged right now with what happened with this 50 people in this conference, let's say, that are just all on the same page, man. We're on the same page. We want to think outside the box and we want to find better solutions.
Thank you so much for sharing this. I just wanted to double check something you said earlier about, as of March 31st, the organization is back to only doing street work. Is this as a result of the tent and the trailer being removed? Is there anything else that you guys were part of that has, I guess, ceased to exist now?
Well, this is just an example, with funding and whatnot. The funding for our program has been greatly reduced, sadly. An example is in the last I think it's January, it started, or December, we got some funding to successfully put 12 hardcore street people, Inuit people, Native people into apartments. Whether it be little single studio apartments, shared apartments for couples or whatnot. This has been proven to be such a blessing. Challenging, of course, all kinds of challenges. But these people are in houses now and are in apartments. And it's just the best thing. It's just the best thing, like to see them and to have them bring them to the food bank or help them, that they get cleaner and they get shaved and all these things that the changes that are happening are just phenomenal. This is just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But March 31st, we don't have that contract anymore, so we don't have the housing project anymore as well. So there's maybe things where you might be able to latch on with other organizations and keep it on. If not, we're going to just spread these people to other organizations, that have funding, whether it's be Open Door, whether it be Claim Your Year, whether it be whatever housing projects there are. People that have been given funding, I'm lucky. They basically want me once again to be a street worker, on the bricks. Once a week, they want to hire a nurse. I'd be walking with a nurse once a week and do some liaison with Mid-Saint-Simon and whatnot, which is very important for people, Instead of going to the hospital, if we can do whatever we can or suggest or refer or make appointments and stuff like that, basic first aid, whatever it may be, clean up wounds, de-lice, whatever it is, those are part of our realities. So that's going to be one thing. We've also got this liaison right now with they have 4, 5, 6 Montreal SPVM street walkers for walkers. Like they walk the beat for the homeless people. So I work with them on a regular basis. We have a dialogue and it works, and they have some understanding, but the problems are still there. The problems are still there, and they just it's just punishment. Something's bad happening, punish. And then the circle continues and straight, and it just gets worse.
Would you say that the city of Montreal, and maybe I'm curious since you've lived in other places in Canada to kind of hear, how it is compared to other cities, but that the city of Montreal approaches homelessness through more, hide it, put it out of kind of view rather than actually dealing with the issues at its roots.
Okay. Real quickly, I'm not an expert in the city of Montreal homelessness. Okay, I don't even know very much, although it expands, about there's different locations in Montreal where homeless people are gathered. Cabot Square being one. Chinatown being some, whatever. My people are on the plateau. Our people, community, are on the plateau, and that's where I stay. I don't spend much time or effort with non-Indigenous homeless people. I have my limits and I have full caseloads and everything, so I got to be realistic. I've learned a little bit about the numbers. I've studied a little bit about it. But Montreal, since COVID, the homeless population has increased greatly. And especially our people has increased greatly because they couldn't get back to communities up north, whatever the case may be. And the deterioration progresses very quickly, So anyways, the city of Montreal is in crisis mode with the COVID and whatnot. So they had to do all kinds of things. They put people in hotels and quarantine or So there's no doubt that they invest some money on it. And I'm not saying that I have the solution that one way would be better than the other, or spending money here would be better than the other. I don't pretend to be all that. I'm an intervention worker. I don't do the admin. I don't do the management. I'm kind of dumb with technology, 10 years in prison or whatnot. So I know what I'm capable of, and I focus my energy, my drive, my resources just working on the street with the people. But that's limited to the plateau. Place des Arts up, Park and Milton, Papineau, Mont-Royal. Boom, that's our grid. you know, and and I work with numerous organizations. Like I was speaking in school. I spoke at McGill recently. I spoke at Concordia not too long ago as well. And a lot of these places, what happens after is they develop relationships with us. They want to know more about ISWP. And the students have come out and given us all kinds of donations and stuff like that. You know, stuff that we need. Used cell phones. You know, hockey sticks in the wintertime. Clothes, of course, all the time. Funds, coffee cards, all these things. You know, get Tim cards. So that's great. That a lot of students. And I noticed that a lot of students, when I spoke in classes, were it's like a cultural mosaic. You know, there's people from all over, and they're so willing to learn about the truth about Canadian history. You know, and more able to do that. I also I do Kairos blanket exercises, which is a great exercise for anybody to do to understand briefly the impact of colonialism on people. We teach these people, to students, to frontline workers, to police, to everything. This is a great exercise called the Kairos blanket exercise, and I'd be willing to do that anywhere because it provides knowledge, understanding, thought. You know, yeah.
How do you spell this?
Kairos is Kairos, Kairos, and it's Indigenous blanket exercise. You can see all kinds of stuff about it on YouTube. It's an incredible thing. I did one at Vanier College on Friday. I played the the Colonialists, and people were like, I was too close to them, or I was like taking their blankets away and all that, and they felt really offended by my presence or by my closeness and my gruff and my grabbing and all that, you know. Then we did residential school, and I mistreated the baby dolls a little bit, you know. I pushed them around and whatever, and put them in the dark or whatever, you know. And people, after that, we had a sort of learning circle to see what people thought about everything, and everybody says like, "Oh my God, I was so offended and scared of you," you know. Imagine that's just a brief exercise, you know. Imagine the real thing, 500 worth of these things where we couldn't speak, where we couldn't express ourselves. Here's the Indian Act. This is what you have to follow, like it or not. Treaties. We don't believe in your treaties. Who cares if you've been doing it for 2 million years? You know, we've been living by treaties all our life. So we decided in good faith, let's make treaties. You're taking up all the land. You're putting us here on a stamped parcel of land. Let's make treaties. Let's try to get along. But, you know, like I said, the colonial extermination didn't work. Next we moved to assimilation. You know, Duncan Scott said, let's kill what's Indian in the child. Let's get them when they're young. Let's rip them from their parents. Leave the parents with nothing to do. They don't know what to do anymore. They're not raising their family anymore. They're lost. They're confused. They're scared. They're upset. They let their children go. So this is what we call intergenerational trauma. You know, it begins with the suffering of the parents. Then, of course, everything that happens in the school. You know, we've heard all the atrocities of the school. You know, and that's what it was. It was to kill the Indian. You know, to prepare him for the lower fringes of society, if anything. Thousands have died. Thousands have been abused, sexually, physically. You know, it's a harsh history. It's a harsh history that really people don't know about. And as a result, these people, they're taken at the age of 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, taken from their reserve, on the bush, you know. So they're brought to wherever it is they're going, some point completely strange, someplace they've never been. They're made to cut off their hair. They're made to not speak their language anymore, not talk to their siblings, you know, very strict, very militant, very, you know. And then all the atrocities that happen there, you know, poor nourishment and the way of the nuns and the way of the preachers and the sex assault and the pedophilia and all these things, you know, and then so that person gets out at the age of 16, you know, he's angry, he's confused, he doesn't know what's going on in his head sexually, you know, he's angry. So at 16 years old, you don't go back home, or if you do, you go back home, you're a stranger to your people. You've been told for 10 years that their parents are heathens, that their ways are evil, and da-da-da. So now you don't know, you're living in two worlds. So you do get back, or you don't, you start drinking to calm that stress, you know, alcohol, numb, anyway, I can't say the right word. So drugs and alcohol, and then their sexual, sexual habits are affected. And that's why we hear about intergenerational trauma being, you know, they pass on the pedophilia or the rapes or the aggressiveness of sexuality and the confusion about sexuality and relationships and all that. So this is tragic, you know, and then it's trauma, you know, and people say, residential school was 100 years ago. No, it wasn't. The last one was closed just 20 friggin' years ago, you know, and then the international, anyways, I could go on and on, lateral violence, blah, 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 so words we used regularly, but we got to understand what these words really mean.
Would I be able to ask you, I guess specifically with Milton Park in mind, because that's where your work is focused, about how colonialism has contributed to Inuit overrepresenting the homeless population in this area.
Yeah, absolutely. The Inuit, there's a different reason why they come here. Okay, some of them, they come down on medical. They got to come down to the hospital. Sometimes they escort somebody, like a granny or an aunt or something, or it's for themselves, and they have time in the city. And there's great organizations that take care of them. Makevik, Ulevik, there are great organizations. However, the temptations are strong. Big city, the temptations are strong. And what do you do? What are you going to gather? The first thing, you're Inuit. You don't know a friggin' soul in a city of 2 million. You're going to know that, hey, all the Inuits are at the Friendship Center. All the Inuits are at Milton Park. So they're going to go there, and right away they're going to get into that way of life, the language. They want to, the friends, the old uncles. They're all community. They're all related. So what happened up north? Maybe, you live in a city of a town of Inuit settlement of 1,000 people, 2,000 people. You grow up in a house where 12 people are living inside a small clapboard house. And then the damages are, then the windows are the mold and the toilets and all these things. They've got 12 people, 14 people living in the same house, sleeping on the floor, everything. Then maybe, who knows, maybe there's a little bit of pedophilia going on here. Maybe there's a little bit of beating, the husband beating the wife. There's extreme alcoholism, maybe. There's all kinds of things that kid can't run away from. At 4 years old, that person gets abused. I've heard about this, so I don't even know where I was going with that. I just zoned out there for a second.
That's okay. Take your time.
Yeah. So they're there in these communities, and they want to run. They can't run to the neighbors because the same thing's going on at the neighbor's house. There's dysfunctionality. There's troubles. There's chaos happening everywhere. So they get on a plane and they get to Montreal, to city, to Winnipeg, to Vancouver, to wherever it is they're going, and then it's an escape. They're not in that house anymore. They're not in that town anymore. You have teenagers doing suicide pacts. The realities are so harsh, but there's so much hope. Our apartment project being a thing. People from Milton and Park, people from the Plateau now have a place to live. And we help them out. And there's organizations, Makevik and whatnot, that might provide grocery money, and there's resources, and there's stuff we can do. So that's great. Milton and Park is an issue. It's all over the media. I've been interviewed about it several times. John Tessier is the greatest voice out there for Open Door. It's a scene, man. It's a scene, It's right in the plateau where university students are, and people that live in that area, consider it So they're afraid to go in that corner. They're afraid, and they're inconvenienced by it, and they complain, and of course, and I understand both sides of the coin. I'm not a hater. I just want people to understand, and maybe next time you walk by, you'll understand a little more, that collectively and individually, these people are all human beings, worthy human beings. Try to understand if any of us would have the roll of the dice. You don't know how you're going to grow up, not with privileged parents, not with, most families, alcoholism doesn't run rampant like that. The confusion and anger and fear and trauma and shame, and you're living with that, so you gotta freeze that. So you got it together, and then you do what you can. You gotta beg, you gotta steal, you gotta whatever. So we try to be there to offer a presence. We're not the police. We're not. But we can feel a fight coming. We can feel somebody has an epileptic fit, or somebody has an alcohol fit, or if there's a friggin' naloxone need to produce for an opioid overdose, or we call the ambulance, the police. The police and the ambulance. I understand they're disgusted and tired by what they see. They're disgusted and tired by what they see. I see it in their attitudes, and very often they don't recognize me as a frontline worker. They think I'm just another guy who's nosy and all that. So I try to tell them, hey, listen, this guy's he's not having a heart attack. He's not on the floor. He's passed out. He's sleeping. Okay? I know who he is. He's sleeping. Get the fuck out of here. No. And it's the gap is so wide in understanding what our people are going through.
How do you think the city of Montreal, especially with police in mind, how could they approach homelessness from a decolonial perspective in order to
Okay.
address the issue at its roots and help people?
Yeah, we're a long way. We've got a long way to go. There's things that happening, like they've got mental health workers now working with them. Friendship Center has a street crew that works with the police on a regular basis. So it's good to collaborate, for police to collaborate, to have a different than what they've been trained to do, what their mandate is, to arrest, to keep public safe as they see it. But we can keep public safe by talking to the people, by finding alternative measures. And that's what I'm doing in these conference right now. It's about restorative justice. It's about understanding what can be done. So we got all kinds of people together. We're putting our heads together and we're finding solutions across Quebec, across Nunavut, and maybe we'll spread this across Turtle Island. I'm so encouraged about what's going on, the beautiful people in this conference today. I love my work. I love my life. I like the life that I live today. I live in gratitude, appreciation, humility. I live in service. You called for an interview. Sophie Hart asked for me to interview, asked me to be linked with somebody. 100%. I long for, I'm trying to get contracts to speak in schools. That's what I'm trying to do, And once again, it's not for the money. I just want to have that ability to just give you a little more understanding. Maybe plant the seed in your head for the next time a situation comes. Instead of putting out the handcuffs or whatever, let's try to take it a different way. Let's try, Prison doesn't do any good to our people. We have all kinds of alternative measures for our people. Judges are starting to recognize that,
Do you think restorative justice could be applied to dealing with homelessness? Like, is there a connection there?
100%. This is what it's all about. It's about fixing broken relationships. Restorative justice, our version of it, is about fixing broken relationships. Whether you're the victim or the perpetrator, or if you want, whatever. We're trying to fix broken relationships, and we've had, over the last 3 days, we've talked about our successes and how the judges are kind of seeing approaches, whether it be a healing lodge, whether it be land programs for the Inuit. You don't take the Inuit out of the north and put them in a Canadian prison. It does no good to them, They'll be surrounded by crime and criminals, and they go to con school, basically, And what they bring back usually isn't good to the community when they get back to the community, So my voice is very strong on the prison thing. All my community members on the street know that I'm an ex-convict, and not that it gives me status. That's not what I'm trying to say, but it sure helps with the relationships. It sure helps. That I always tell them when there's a fight breaking out, man, come on, I don't want to see you in handcuffs tonight. Come on, let's think. Let's minimum get you out of here. Let's go for a talk. Let's go for a walk. And don't always succeed, but I try to. Every shift's different. I never know what's going on. Montreal's a beautiful place. I'm proud to be here. My little stint in the city until I get back to the bush somewhere. I have high hopes and expectations for myself and for our people. I won't stop.
Thank you.
People like Sophie Hart, incredible.
Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to ask something I've been noticing as I've been reporting on homelessness for the last couple of years during the pandemic is that the city often has this approach of emergency services. And I know you've probably seen this too, especially during the winter time, and with deaths of homeless people, the city will do things like, them all, hotels, the warming tents, things like this. Do you think the city should focus more and invest more in not emergency solutions, but 24 hours, 12 months a year type of solutions? And what could this be?
We need to think that's what it is, and that's why ISWP was initially built, because the only time the people were there, whether the police, the ambulance, or whatever, or other workers, was in emergency situations. So we decided we need to make a presence. We need to be out there.
Are there maybe certain approaches you would like to see the city put forward?
Well, absolutely. They heard us when they had the petition to kick us out of Milton Park. They heard us. They knew we were making a difference, and they don't hate us. But the power of the neighbors was stronger than what we could offer. So are there solutions? It's all about dialogue. Whether I talk to police, whether I talk to ambulance, whether I talk to politicians, whatever it is, not I or us, whatever it is, you need to talk about it. That's how you raise a social consciousness. That's how you tackle problems. So what do you do? What are the solutions? Solutions are difficult. I don't pretend to have them. As I said, I'm an intervention worker. I don't know what's best, to tell you the truth. But I do know that our housing project is beyond friggin' successful. What a difference it's made. The numbers on the street corner has gone down dramatically. People at the A&W and Montreal and whatnot. And, they still go out. They still gather against community. But they're safer. They're safer. They're able to build. Now two of the people in apartments have been shadow workers for ISWP. This is the best thing here. They've been shadow workers for ISWP, meaning I'd go on the bricks, on the streets, and they'd follow me with a backpack full of supplies and all that. And they can get in there and speak the language and know the community and know the cousins and all that. So they've proven to be great assets. I've got 2 workers right now that have been working since last year. One of them just no longer a peer worker. She's now been hired as an intervention in training. And our goal is to reduce the alcoholism, the consumption they do. We can't get them completely sober. We're realistic that, the long shift is hard, shaking and sick in the morning and all that or whenever. So we understand all these things, but we want to slowly prepare these people for the real world job market. Right now it's okay if you come in an hour late, a little hungover and, beer on your breath and all that. We're realistic, 9 to 5 is difficult for our people, but now we can prepare these people and have them spread them out and have these people represent us and talk in different organizations. We're going to build a great reference. We're going to do all these things, It's so there are success stories, absolutely, but very often it was one step forward, one step back. See, I'm not one who is a hater. I don't hate the police. I understand their role is very, very difficult and troubling. I don't understand the politicians. And I'm not very well educated, informed on those masses. All my time and energy has been spent understanding the brain, understanding the trauma. I read Gabor Mate a lot. He was a great, great, great doctor in Vancouver, working with homeless people for years. He's an incredible writer, and he talks about the trauma and the pain of our people and why. So he explains the situation, which would blow your mind, that stuff that happens in movies or whatever, that these people went through, death and violence, and how it scars you. It scars you right through your DNA, and you live with that day after day. So what are the solutions? They're difficult. We believe in the 7 generations. We're moving towards where people are going to be all healthy and good again, And it's happening. Days like today where we had like 30, 40, 50 people in the room from Nunavik, from all over different organizations, all on the same path, the same quest. So like I said, I don't have all the answers. I don't pretend to be an investigator. I don't believe to be a politician, but I try to provide what I can from my lived experience. And I don't bullshit. I don't say it's stuff that I don't talk about. You know what I mean? So it's hard for me to talk about politics in Montreal, Of course, there's work to be done. Of course, there needs to be more financing. Of course, you got to be realistic. You got to understand what's going on. So, I've become the network guy. And I know I'm rough around the edges. I know that, and I speak French, and I got that big bad accent and whatnot. But the necessity of interpersonal communication skills makes all the difference.
Lastly, I just wanted to ask, do you know how much the decrease in funding has been towards the housing project program and, and alongside...
Say that again, I'm sorry?
You said that, so in December, money was provided towards the putting 12 people in housing, right?
Program, yeah.
And do you know how much that's been decreased,
Yeah.
or has it completely been cut?
I think we don't have it. We don't have the housing project this year at all. I don't know the details. We just had a staff meeting last Friday, and everything's being reorganized. And like I said, we lost all our members. I've been offered a contract. Some contracts are come from the city. Some contracts from the province. Some contracts come from the federal government for where we work. I think I got a federal government contract, but I can't be sure of that. So, so I don't know if we got this project or not. I don't really know what's going on. More to come. It's been chaotic for my boss. She's been run ragged. She's trying to write these proposals and try to deal with people and complaints and then all these things and staff and everything. And so we're not professionals. We're learning as we go. So we're also on this journey with our people, with our community members, you know. And we work with organizations that are beyond valuable, you know, Plain Milieu, Friendship Center, First People's Justice Center, you know, these people, Makavik, you know. And if I forgot anybody and anybody's listening, I'm sorry. You know, we'd like to be in touch with the McGill. The McGill have their Milton Solidarity Project, you know. On Saturdays they go out to Milton and Park. Every Saturday they set up a table there. Most of them are McGill students. And Concordia has run food drives and clothes drives for me. We always need used phones. You know, you never think about that when you finished your phone. These people just use it for, our people just use it for Wi-Fi or whatever. And that's their link to home and everything. So we try to really do that. I always make a little plug, you know, ISWP. We don't have a website or anything. You know, I don't have business cards or anything because we worked in chaos for 2 years. We worked in crisis COVID. You know, we were putting people in hospital. We were run ragged. You know, so we weren't able to do the real intervention and the social skills development and stuff like that we want to do. We want to do carvings and sewing projects and get people to do things, you know. It's all part of that identity, purpose, and direction. Now our Inuit people that are in apartments have identity, you know. I'm a resident of Montreal now, you know. These guys some are working now, you know. It's a long way to go, but we're heading there, you know. It's been 500 years in the back. Let's hope it doesn't take 500 years to repair all the damage. You know, we don't hate. We want to community. I can't speak for myself. Some people do, but I don't hate. You know, but your ignorance and your anger towards our people on the street, although maybe justified, needs to be better understood. Needs to be better understood.